What's up, guys? I'm going to do a quick little guide breakdown slash like futures look at some conference tournaments real quick. This is when all the major conference tournaments are really being played. Wetzel and I will get to the MVC later on in the week, things like that. But I just want to do a quick breakdown, kind of from a betting standpoint, of some futures that I'm looking at for the conference tournaments going on this week. Start out in the ACC. When you're looking at futures, in my opinion, you don't go for the obvious one. By that, you don't go for the favorites, like somebody that's like plus 200, plus 300, plus 100. There's no real value in that. That's not a value pick. You want to take somebody with a little longer shots that could be a dark horse that could make a run, that's could get hot and win the tournament. And that way, you've got more payout when they do, if they do end up winning. Also, you know, you get a little bit of bragging rights. There's nothing better than having a future and being like, I knew this was going to happen. I placed this bet. You see this. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, when Liverpool was in the Champions League final, I had a future on them at plus 2,000 odds to win the whole thing. And when they were in the final, the fact they made it to the final, I felt really good about my future even then. I was like, man, like I've got a chance to pay out a plus 2,000 bet that I placed almost a year ago. So when you're placing bets on futures, you really want the value. You want something that's probably over 300, probably at least plus 400 if you're going to take a future. In my opinion, that's just how I like to bet futures. So with that being said, first one I'm looking at in the ACC is Georgia Tech. I think I saw them as high as plus 1,000 earlier today, and I think a lot of people are jumping on that because they are the 4 seed and they're very hot. They've now jumped down to plus 600 in some books. I think they're a good value pick. I really like the way the bracket works for them. They've got Virginia on their side of the bracket, and the way Virginia plays, I think they're able to hang with them, could pull off an upset. So I think Georgia Tech's a really good value in the ACC. Um, the Big Ten, there's not really any value picks that I like because I think it really is Michigan, Iowa, Illinois, and the rest is just the rest. I'd say Iowa, Illinois. If you're going to take a future, take one on one of those two. I think they've got a better chance. They're both playing better down the stretch than Michigan has. So I really like that. Colorado State in the Mountain West. I like them. I got them at plus 400. I'm seeing now they're as low as plus 350. I would even say maybe take a flyer on Nevada at plus 2,000. Nevada is also a sneaky good team out of the Mountain West in the 5 seed that could upset Boise State and make a run at the title. I think that's just once you get to the semifinals in the Mountain West, it's going to be a bloodbath and it's going to be dogfight after dogfight. I think it's one of the more underrated conferences right now. But I lean towards that Colorado State. I think right now they've moved down to plus 350. Still like it there. Decent odds, decent payout. Next, we'll go to the Big East. I actually got in on UConn when they were plus 350 a week ago, and now they're almost the betting favorite at plus 230. Villanova has a lot of injuries to deal with, especially, at the guard position. Colin Gillespie going down was huge, but they've also dealt with some other injuries. So they're really lacking depth and star power right now. Creighton, with the whole McDermott situation going on, who knows with them. So I think UConn might eventually, before this tournament kicks off, become the odds-on favorite. I really like where I got them at plus 350. Seeing them now down as low as plus 230 really makes me feel good about it. I'd say a flyer you could take would probably be St. John's, since they're on the opposite side. St. John's or Seton Hall, whoever you think's going to win that game. I think since they're on the opposite side of Creighton, Yukon, I think they've got good value because they've got again a beaten up Villanova on their side if they win their first game. So I think one of them you could take a flyer on as well, whichever team you think's better. I personally think St. John's is a little more athletic and a little more exciting to watch, so I'd lean towards them. In the Big 12, I think there's a lot of value with Baylor being the obvious favorite at minus 150. I think there's a lot of value in the winner of Texas Tech, Texas. They're plus 750 and plus 800 respectively. I think just being on the opposite side of Baylor helps them out. Plus, the winner of that game most likely will play Kansas, who only played one game this last week, and they looked pretty poor in that game. So I worry about Kansas with the rest. So I think Texas and Texas Tech could be a good spot to get them at plus 750 or plus 800 because they could have a nice little path to the championship game to play Baylor and catch Baylor off guard, maybe. Southeastern Conference next. I think I like some deeper ones in this. Uh, Kentucky at plus upwards of plus one or 1500, excuse me. I think has good value. Alabama kind of struggled down the stretch. I think they hit their peak already this year, and I don't think they have the capability to reach it again. Kentucky being on the opposite side of Arkansas really helps them out. So I think if they win that game, if they win the first one, obviously you got to win the first one. Get to that Alabama matchup, win that Alabama matchup. I think they could roll in and roll through that tournament. It'd be kind of unprecedented 4 wins, 4 days, but still, I kind of like them in that spot. I also like LSU at plus 500. They're just an athletic team, and I think they're hard to play against. I think the only team in the SEC that has the athletes that LSU does is Bama, and I think that'll help them in a tournament situation like this when you have to play back to backs. Just going up against really great athletes that really push the tempo is going to be hard. LSU is a very good conditioned team, and I think they'll take advantage of that in a tournament like this in the SEC. So SEC, I like LSU or Kentucky. The American Athletic Conference. I think this is an interesting one. Houston's the odds-on favorite at minus 175, which is weird to me. I think Houston's a little overvalued. I like Memphis a lot at plus 550. I mean, they almost beat Houston this past weekend. I think they could match up in the semis. Wichita State's under 300, but if they go up to plus 300, I would take them. I mean, they won this conference in the regular season. There's no reason they should have that. They shouldn't be the odds on favorite. I think people just overvalue Houston and that defense. In the Pac 12, I think it's kind of wide open. You've got Oregon and Colorado, two odds on favorites at plus 200. USC plus 230, UCLA plus 550. I like taking a flyer on Stanford at plus 1500. If they get all their guys together and healthy, I think this could be a very dangerous team in this tournament. I also don't hate UCLA at plus 550. I believe they're the 4 seed, so they're going to have to play Oregon in the semis. But they've played Oregon pretty tough both games. They blew a big lead against them. I think it was this past week. So, I mean, there could be some real good value. They could beat Oregon, I think. I think they're one of the few teams that could. I wish USC's odds were a little higher because I really like them to win this whole tournament. But anyways, so going back to my futures that I like for this upcoming week, I like Georgia Tech out of the ACC. Out of the Big Ten, I don't really like any futures because I don't think there's great value there. But if you were to take one, I'd say Illinois or Iowa. Mountain West, Colorado State. Big East, I like UConn, even though now they're a little overvalued, I believe. The Big 12, Texas Tech, Texas, whoever you think is going to win that matchup, I lean on them. SEC, Kentucky, or LSU. The American, Memphis, or Wichita State, if they jump up a little bit. Pac-12, UCLA, or Stanford. Those are my tournament futures that I'm looking at. I think they all have good value. Um, and I'll be back after Sunday to talk about futures for the Final Four and to win it all. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. Like and subscribe if you aren't already to the YouTube channel. Twitter is at @from_nose. Stay tuned for more.